You're watching the news hour. Let's return to one of our main stories as more than 11,000 people have been killed and still 10,000 more people missing in the flooded Libyan city of Derna. Well, joining me now is Bharat Pankania, senior clinical lecturer at the University of Exeter, to talk about the aftermath of all of this. An incredibly devastating scene set by our Africa correspondent Yusra Bagheer, our special correspondent Alex Crawford. It is being described, if we talk about the death and destruction first before we move on to the ramifications, it's being described as a mass graveyard now. We've already mentioned more than 11,000 people confirmed killed, 10,000 more missing, feared dead. What health-wise does something like that present in terms of dealing with the bodies, for starters?
So if we just take a step back, and I will answer your question, I feel we should also address the issue of why did this go wrong catastrophically. And I was listening to a Libya expert from the Royal United Services Institute, and I concur with what his messaging was, which is the default at the Libyan authorities was, we have a problem, stay put, stay in your houses and clear the streets. That was wrong messaging. And then the dams broke, and then the rest is history. So coming on to your question, which is what to do now and what are the dangers? Well, what has happened, and it is tragic. And I hope there will be a good, thorough inquiry about the messaging. But the issues are dead bodies don't cause infections, but the accumulation of dead bodies plus the environmental degradation plus the environmental contamination can lead to all manner of things going forward. So you may have contaminated water, you may have water which is puddling everywhere, and then mosquitoes grow en masse. Mosquitoes infect you, and if they are carrying the right infections like dengue fever, like malaria, and you have a problem. But the bigger picture is really health living in a contaminated environment.
Right, so if we break that down, so first of all, of course, they've got to collect these bodies once they've found them, a horrific feat for any emergency disaster response. They've got to obviously put them in body bags and take them away. But as you're saying, it's the contamination on the ground in this mud slurry that's of huge concern. You mentioned a few things there, not least the contaminated water, mosquitoes, and there'll also be, of course, animals that have died, chemicals that were in homes or businesses and industries that will be flooding through this area. How do people then live on a site like that or stay on a site, should they?
It's very difficult, and what is really required, and I'm reminded of the Haiti earthquake, where a United Nations task force went in. And what we need to do is take a baseline assessment. Is the water safe? Is the water contaminated? Can we have water purification plants? You can't transport water. It's too expensive, too heavy. So you have water purification plants. And then you do, as you said, an assessment of the environment. Do we have chemicals in amongst our midst, which could be harming people who eat the food contaminated by those chemicals? So that rapid assessment can be done very, very quickly. With respect to dead animals and dead bodies, of course, you want to, with dignity, with a lot of dignity, look after them and give them a good burial, funeral as quickly as you can. But the bigger environmental issue is how contaminated is the place.
Right. And very briefly, if you will, you mentioned obviously the diseases that can come from the mosquitoes and the water. What kind of diseases are we looking out for now? How concerned should people be, and what should they be looking out for?
So it's two factors. One is communicable diseases, i.e. the mosquito, insect-borne, etc., pestilence. But also, please be aware that there could be diseases due to contamination, chemicals, which will then become apparent 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the line. So we mustn't just focus on infections. There could be non-communicable issues as well, like chemical contamination.
OK, Bharat Pankhania, Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter. Thanks very much indeed for giving us your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.